What's up? Good morning. Happy Tuesday to everybody. The sun has come back up. Yes, the Texas Longhorns lost over the weekend, but we are still here. It's Tuesday, which means Jason Sukamel is here. And Jason, I decided for today's show. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry, Jason. My bad. My YouTube. I had the YouTube channel on, and so I started hearing myself talking. So I apologize for that. I was like, "Who the hell is yelling?"
I don't know what's going on here, but I'm going to roll with it. Okay.
No, it's all good. So, Jason, I decided that today we would take a little reprieve from the Arch Manning conversation. We talked about it on Saturday after the game. We all had to write about it over the weekend. You had your 3-2-1 where you had to acknowledge it. I did a show about it yesterday. Sark was asked a million questions about Manning, and I just said, I can't do this another day. So what I decided to, Jason, and the inspiration actually came from your column. I was like, you know what? As we're focusing on so many of the negatives, there were some positives that happened in that game. There are positives to extract from there. I want to start with you from the defensive side of the ball, from a generic standpoint. At the end of the day, Jason, the defense goes and holds the defending national champions to 14 points in their house. Sark admitted, hey, that's probably enough to win most games, and we got to do better offensively. But from a defensive standpoint, Jason, was this pretty much the defense as advertised for you?
Yeah, I think so. And thank you for let's try to find a little positive, because it's easy to pick this game apart, right? And we've done it for 72 hours or whatever it is now. So at some point it's time to turn the page. But yeah, man, that defense, we heard and wrote about it all camp, right? That this defense was playing phenomenal football. It was extremely talented. It was tough up the middle, which I was like, hey, I need to see that for myself with these new defensive tackles. And I think we showed that, or we saw that on Saturday. I thought the interior of the defensive line played well. You know, that defense was phenomenal. I mean, they held them, what is it, 206 total yards? I don't have it in front of me, but I think that's right.
I don't have it in front of me, but that sounds about right, though, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, you hold a team to 206 or 203. There it is, 203 total yards. That's a winning performance. I get it. Ohio State was breaking in a new quarterback. They weren't super aggressive with their scheme, but I don't care. You know, this was a winning performance by the defense. A couple timely, costly mistakes in the ways of penalties pretty much cost Texas really 9 points, because you gave up a touchdown on one drive and then you cost yourself a safety when Lafau gets the hands to the face penalty. So a couple mistakes they can clean up. And I get it. We can nitpick, and I know Ketch has been all saying this wasn't good enough because they didn't force any turnovers. Well, yeah, that part sucks, but this was still a very good, dominant performance, and it does line up with what we had been hearing all fall camp, Almar. And I think it's going to be consistent. I think we're going to see it every single week. This week will be an interesting test, totally different style of offense they'll face this week. But I think this defense is going to bring it every single week. And I think what we saw on Saturday is, again, a reflection of what we kind of had been hearing and what we'll see moving forward.
What about also when we talk about the defense, let's get into the weeds here a little bit. From a defensive back perspective, Jeremiah Smith, for the second straight game against this Texas defense, kind of held in check. I mean, he didn't go off. Now, clearly it wasn't one catch for 3 yards. You and I both said there's no way in hell that's going to be a repeat of the performance. But for a guy who is viewed as the top receiver in the country, you know,
top player in the country,
top player in the country at that, right? For a guy like, you know, Manny Muhammad and some of these other guys, like, that was one hell of a defensive performance, at least from the secondary aspect. Were you impressed by that as well?
I was. 6 catches, 43 yards for Jeremiah Smith. And to put that in perspective, I mean, Prize Picks had him, I think it was up in the upper 80s. So Texas held him to about half of what was anticipated. Okay, and this is, again, you mentioned in the playoffs last year, 1 catch for 3 yards, but 6 for 43. By the end of the year, that might be his low stat line. I mean, you know, we'll see how Julian Sayin progresses as a quarterback, but I mean, I promise you that's going to be one of his lower outputs of the year. And I'll be honest, I'll throw myself under the bus. So I'm watching that game, and it was Manny Muhammad that got the holding call or pass interference call that helped set up the touchdown. And I think I said it on our team's chat thing on Orange Buzz. I was like, gosh, Manny Muhammad, man, he's got to be better and blah, blah, blah. Dude, after that, I was like, oh, I'm eating my words, because Manny Muhammad was really, really good all day. Even when Smith made a catch, I mean, Muhammad was on him as soon as that ball reached his hands. So credit to Manny Muhammad. I wrote in my column, Grayson Littleton. We'd heard about him, right? We heard that he was doing well, but what I don't say pleasant surprise, because we'd heard people talk about how good he was, but to see it with our own eyes, right? We're like, oh, damn, that guy's legit. I mean, that defense, Taft was Taft. So that defense all across the board, that secondary, aside from that one play where Gilbo gets beat deep, but you're playing a good team, man. That's going to happen on occasion. Yeah, exactly. And good catch by the receiver as well. But yeah, I was really impressed with that secondary. I was really impressed by Manny Muhammad, and I don't mind saying it. I had to eat some crow about halfway through that second quarter. I was kind of saying, dude, I need to see more from him. He needs to be better. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, what am I talking about? This guy's been a lead all game. So hat tip for Manny Muhammad. Yeah,
Manny Muhammad was fantastic, I think, in that game. And and again, Jason, like you said, good teams, like it's hard to hold a team to 0 points. It's hard to hold them to 7 or 14. You do 14, it's like it's easy to nitpick the little things, but then when you look at the step back and look at the overall productivity, like to your point, I think your point is the best point, Jason. We probably won't see Jeremiah Smith have that kind of low game unless he has an injury of some sort, right? I mean, outside of that, it's really, this Texas defense has done great. Go back to Grayson Littleton for a second. You and I have talked about it and talked about him. Again, for those who are maybe new to the scene, Jason, we can't always assume everyone watches every show. Give everyone the background on this freshman, because he was highly recruited, but he didn't have the splash. Like Texas had, a lot of 5 stars in this class on the defensive side of the ball. He wasn't the quote unquote sexy guy, but he basically came in and hit the ground running. What can you tell us about everybody?
He was a one-time
background and everything.
It's funny, like, and I'll get to the backstory here in a minute, but we had been hearing all camp at how well he was doing, right, and getting some run with the ones. But I don't know if you were like me. I was like, okay, that's fine in fall camp, but are they going to trot him out there against Ohio State week 1? I thought, they'll probably lean on their more experienced guys, but he technically didn't get the start because I looked at the starters. He wasn't listed, but I'm pretty sure he was in on that first series. Okay, so I mean, you talk about earning your coach's trust as a true freshman. That's impressive. But, Grayson was a one-time Clemson commitment, visited Texas. And you're right, he didn't get a lot of, he was highly rated. I don't have it in front of me, but he was a top 100 national type player. So, he was highly rated, but not 5-star type. Like right now we're thinking, okay, that dude was underrated. And that very well may be the case. But he flipped his commitment from Clemson to Texas pretty quickly. And I remember he took his Texas official visit, and I remember talking to him. And, I think part of the reason he kind of was under the radar, Omar, he didn't do a lot of interviews at all. I caught him in person when he was leaving his official visit, and that was about it. And then I was lucky enough to get his mom's number, so I would text her for an update every now and then. But that's about it. If I wanted an update, I'd have to text the mom, like, hey, is Grayson taking a visit? Is Grayson doing this? And she would respond. But so he kind of kept himself out of the spotlight. And I think that's why we didn't hear about him as much and people didn't talk about him as much. Was always known as an elite speed guy, though. Just has track speed and verified times. So he had that element to his game. And you're seeing it kind of transition very quickly to the college level. But, he's not a guy. If we're being honest, if you'd have said, okay, let's rank the guys, the true freshmen coming in who we think have a chance to play as true freshmen, he would have been in the bottom half of that list for sure. For me personally, maybe bottom 3rd, but you can make an argument he's probably been the most impressive true freshman that they signed last year.
When you're in the class with Cade Phillips, right? It's almost like, whereas Cade Phillips is here, and then everybody else is kind of a tier below that. And so, but like you said, props to him to be able to come in, hit the ground running. and be able to contribute the way it had. I mean, your first start on the road, Ohio State. I mean, that's pretty damn good, Jason. So, we got that portion of it. Let's look at the defensive line as well, Jason. And I think someone pointed out, they said something about no sacks, but you also have when you get past that, you look from a rushing perspective. It wasn't like Ohio State killed Texas on the ground, held them to below 100 rushing yards, again, in their house. Okay, so that to me, that's a reflection on the line. It's a reflection on tackling. When you saw some of the guys in there, like Bavard was in there, and they had a whole rotation of guys. What did you think of some of the defensive line?
Yeah, and I'm sorry I got the smirk on my face.
You gotta smile. I'm trying to finish my sentence before I ask you what the hell's so funny.
There was a Sukamel notorious mom texter and airport stalker and mom texter, and they're not wrong. They're not wrong at all. That's the best part. I've got a great mom story that I'll save for another show. Recruit's mom story. So,
well, you can't tease us like that.
I'll give you the nutshell version. So there was this one.
Get your stories down. I know how you get your scoops, Jason.
Yeah, well, it's on occasion. Yeah, there was one player, and he signed with Baylor, and he was let out of his letter of intent, and he never did interviews. But I got to know the mom, and I would call her and talk to her and text her, and I shouldn't have given too much detail, but yeah, at the end of it, like, she was like, hey, he's going to sign with Texas. And I broke the story, and it was great. And then she's like, hey, what's your story? Like, are you married? Are you single? And I'm like, yeah, I'm married with 4 kids. True story. Anyways, moving on. What your question about?
Hold on. Don't skip past this. Don't skip past this. Did she blink when you said it, or did she say, hey, well, just leave her at home and we can go out?
Now we just transition on to the next. It was a very quick transition on to the next subject. But yeah,
that's a lie. You a lie. You just know your wife is all right. Never mind. We're gonna get you in trouble.
Yeah, but sometimes, especially back in my younger days, man, you got to tap into any resources you can find. If those moms want to talk and you want to give you updates, more power to them, man. So, so the interior of the defensive line, yeah, I thought that group held up really well. And I know Alex did his deep dig, and Cole Brevard was it Cole Brevard? Oh, and Leon and Fowl were the top 2 players on his deep dig. And, I didn't sit there and grade each player like Alex does, but just in watching that group, I thought they held up really well. I mean, they held Ohio State to 2.3 yards per carry. They had a big 4th down stop. I thought that I was kind of, again, we heard in fall camp that, oh man, that interior defensive line is playing really well. But I was like, I need to see these things for myself. That's just who I am. And I thought that group held up really well. I don't know that any of them like filled up the stat sheet, but that's not really what you expect from your interior defense. I mean, Travis Shaw, 2 tackles, Brevard, 2 tackles, Canoe, 2 tackles, Alex January, 3 tackles. But yeah, I did think that group held up really well. On the flip side, he talked about no sacks. Well, that usually comes from your edge guys, right? Or maybe your linebackers. You would have liked to have seen more productivity from those guys. I mean, we saw LaFau make a couple plays in the backfield. Again, he had one where he got held, but he then had his own penalty. We saw Colin Simmons get some pressures, and you saw his burst and athleticism. But, those dudes need to be finishing those plays, getting the ball carrier on the ground, disrupting the passer, those types of things. So I thought that, from what I saw, I thought that interior of the line, I was like, whoa, that group did exactly what we had been hearing they had been doing in practice. But you would like to see more playmaking from your playmakers, guys like Anthony Hill, guys like Colin Simmons, Ethan Burke, those types.
Yeah. And, but like you said, overall, good performance by that group. Another one that stood out, and I didn't want to talk about it after the game, Jason, because I just felt like I wasn't ready for doing consolation prizes and feel goods, and I was just like, I wanted to attack the main thing. But now, a couple of days later, I'm ready to talk about the punter. I'm ready to talk about Jack Bowmeister, and it's funny. Special teams is always one of those things that you never know how much you miss one until you don't have one. and you don't know how much you miss like Cameron Dicker until he's not here, right? And you don't know how much you miss Michael Dixon until he's not here. And, last year from a kicking and punting perspective, it was horrible. It was atrocious. But Bomeister comes in here. It's almost like, damn it, Texas, you finally have a punter again. Like, thank goodness. Again, it's not something that's the highlight, but it also was a really important thing as far as, flipping the field a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, those field position things, can be important. And I mean, I said it in my column, like he might have been the best player on the Texas roster on Saturday, honestly. Like he was that good. I mean, his first one was a shorter punt because they were punting from around midfield, but he pinned them deep. He punted for distance. I think he had 3 that were inside the 20, I believe. Yeah, 3 inside the 20, averaged 46 yards, and probably would have been about 50 if he would have been able to uncork that first one, but he had to kind of, go for the just a coffin kick, if you will. I thought it was funny. Like there was a quote yesterday. Someone asked him like, "Hey, what are you thinking?" And I think he just said, "Oh, just kick the shit out of the ball." It's that simple. Yeah, it's like, okay, but like, yeah, I mean, honestly, like that dude looks like he's going to be a real weapon for Texas. And that's weird to say about a punter, but Michael Dixon was the same way. He's another Australian. I said is going to be the best punter they've had since Michael Dixon. It's unfortunate to only get him for 1 year, Texas will, but I mean, that dude, again, I keep saying this, but we saw it in fall camp. We heard about it in the limited times we were able to watch practice in fall camp. Like we saw that dude punt and we're like, oh, that just sounds and looks different than what we've seen in the past couple of years. So yeah, man, I mean, you want to spend too much time praising the punter, but Jack Bomeister was everything he was advertised to be. That guy was fantastic.
I mean, listen, I know Sark isn't, not going to take advice from you and I, but doesn't it just make more sense, Jason, just to go in the transfer portal and get a punter and don't waste it on a high school kid or even a kicker, to be honest with you. Does it just make more sense to say, man, just go get the proven commodities every year, every 2 years, and stop hoping and wishing that some kid just develops. This seems like I know I
get it, but I can also make the argument, but if you hit one of those high school guys like a Michael Dixon, then you've got him for 4 years, man.
Yeah.
This way you're having to go out every single year. But I mean, Texas should have no problem going into the portal every single year and getting a punter and a kicker. But, they've already, well, they haven't signed yet, but they've already got a punter and a kicker committed for this coming class that will sign in December. So maybe they're going to do both. I don't know. Will they take another punter and kicker in the portal? Or are they going to put all their eggs in those guys' baskets that are coming in as true freshmen? I don't know. I'm with you, though. I think I would certainly go into the portal, take a punter and a kicker. And I'm okay taking a high school punter and a kicker. But you know what? Go find one in the portal until you know that those guys can get the job done, those freshmen. And then you give those guys, they have 2 or 3 years after that, and they can be your guy. Then you do it all over again.
I mean, but Jeff Banks will offer like some gunner from like Florida or something like that. He's like, I saw this gunner, man. He's going to be my special teams guy. Now, granted, if you hit like I joke about Jeff Banks, but obviously if you get your long snapper and you got a long snapper for the next few years, it's good. But I don't know. That is just my take. Let me knock out this super chat real quick because it looked like Jay Lee dropped one in here. Super chat. He said during Miami's first field goal, they showed that Burt got beat out by the FAU transfer who was 4 for 11 last year. Like, yikes, due time for a career.
I did notice that it was not Burt Auburn kicking. I didn't realize the guy that beat him out was 4 of 11 last year. That's tough.
Yeah. That's just one of those, it is. I appreciate you, Jaylee, by the way. I am just a guy that just wants to just take the proven commodity as relates to that. From an offensive standpoint, Jason, and again, we're waiting for Alex, and he'll do his dive into the offensive line. Mm-hmm. Just off of a surface level, just eye testing. Clearly, there was some penalties. Clearly, the right side of the line seems to be a little bit of an issue, but there also were some bright spots as relates to the line over as well. Not we didn't see Manning taking a ton of hits. Back there, he did have time on a lot of those pass plays in order to be able to operate. So it was, it's probably a mixed review as relates to that, but I didn't think it was all bad as relates to the offensive line. What did you think?
No, I thought it was more good than bad. And honestly, I think most people, myself included, came in with, let's say, low expectations, because it's kind of like, oh, hey, in Kyle Flood, I trust. But there were a lot of questions, right, and concerns with that offensive line. I mean, Texas rushed for 4.5 yards a carry. Wisner was, right at 5 yards a carry. One sack allowed. I mean, there was some disruption, but one sack allowed. The one, if you're going to pick out negatives, and I'm like you, I'm curious to see Alex's grades for those individual offensive linemen. But there were a couple penalties on Brandon Baker, right? DJ Campbell had a hold. Had a hold, right? So Gooseby gave up the one sack, kind of. I mean, it wasn't like the guy beat him, but he didn't pick up, he didn't slide off his man to pick him up, it looked like to me. So a couple of mistakes, but hey, this is an offensive line, just it stands to reason they got 4 new starters. They should get better each week as they work together and get more continuity and get more comfortable. So for this to be week 1, I thought it was a good performance. Certainly a passing grade. I mean, I would give this a B+ performance from that offensive line, especially when you factor in what was expected of them. So I thought the offensive line, I think in my 3-2-1, I wrote about, hey, let's talk about some of the things that I thought were good. The offensive line was the first thing I wrote about. That was much better than I expected. I think that group can hold its head up high. I think they did just fine. I mean, clean up a couple of the pre-snap mistakes. All right, DJ Campbell, don't get that hold. Other than that, I thought it was a good performance across the board.
And speaking of, and you mentioned, kind of alluded to the backfield. From if again, this is positive pills, right? We're just looking for positivity right now. Wisner, where he was really limited last year versus Ohio State, he does get to 80 yards rushing. So it's a bit, and you also have CJ Baxter. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't quite sure what to expect from CJ Baxter, and I thought they may have to bring him along slowly. Sark kind of decided in training camp that he felt comfortable enough to say, all right, you can go do your thing. CJ Baxter had some receptions as well. And then Wisner. So run game, it looked a little promising as far. And again, we're talking about going against an elite defense. Texas probably won't play a defense that good for the rest of the season, maybe outside of Georgia. So that the run game was promising for me, Jason. What about you?
Yeah, you're exactly reading my mind. It kind of ties in with that offensive line, but in Baxter in particular, I wrote about. He averaged 4 yards a carry, right? Didn't blow you away. I think his first carry was like 13 yards or something like that. Wasn't it? Right? And on that first carry, I was like, okay, that dude looks like the explosive CJ Baxter that we saw before the knee injury. And listen, I'll be honest, Almar, his freshman year when he was a starter, I wasn't always blown away with CJ Baxter. I was like, okay, I need to see more. I thought the CJ Baxter we saw on Saturday, and he didn't blow up the stat book. He's had better days statistically. I thought that was about as good as I've seen him run the ball when you factor in the competition and running behind a new offensive line. He ran hard. He looked quick. He looked explosive. You mentioned he had 5 catches. So he had 15 touches. He's out there without a knee brace. So I thought that was a very much a positive development for Texas. First off, I thought we knew he didn't have limitations. We heard Sark talk about it all camp. I still thought he'd be out there with a knee brace. I thought they'd bring him along slowly, but no, man, they threw him right to the dogs, and I thought he performed really well. So I thought, and that was good to see, man. I mean, the way his season never happened last year for him, obviously. True. But, you always hate that for a guy. So when he comes back to have some success in week 1, it didn't look like there was any rust. Didn't look like there was any, sometimes you come back off an injury like that and there's kind of a mental hang-up. Didn't look like there was any problem for CJ Baxter. So good for him. I thought he ran well. And I thought Trey Wisner does what he always does. I thought he ran hard. He finished runs. You got that extra yard or two. I mean, that dude amazes me, man, because I still remember when he was recruited, when they signed him on, where he was listed as a running back, like by the recruiting services, but on the sheet that Texas gives out on National Signing Day, they listed him as a receiver because he was so small and people didn't know what kind of role he was going to have. And now he's like a undersized, almost power runner. I mean, that dude finishes runs and he runs tough in between the tackles.
Yeah.
You know, even though he's undersized. I mean, you gotta respect the effort he gives every single day.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll wrap it up on this one. I kind of saved the best for last, I guess, in some capacity. But everyone's talked about it. Jack Andrews. Look, you have Jatavian Sanders, you have Gunnar Helm. You got Jack Andrews that comes in here. Kind of wondering, okay, well, what is that thing going to look like? And again, flashes. I mean, the quarterback play wasn't great for him to really do what he does, but in those small flashes, you saw like, oh, okay, this is what this thing could potentially look like, Jason.
Yeah, leading receiver in the game. I mean, over those stud Ohio State receivers, over Ryan Wingo, Parker Livingstone, who deserves a shout out. Parker was fantastic and when he got his opportunities. But yeah, Jack Andrews lived up to the expectations. What was he, 4 for 50, including that big 30-yarder down the sidelines, which was just that was an NFL catch on that wheel route in traffic. I mean, just a tremendous play. So, and I have not gone back and rewatched this game, and I don't know if I want to, honestly. But Sark mentioned, hey, he was also very good as a blocker in the run game and stuff. So, assuming that's true, I mean, it looks like Texas found themselves a nice, well-rounded tight end. It's ironic because we were going into this game, it's like, who's going to have a better game, Jack Andrews or Max Clare? Because Texas tried to recruit Max Clare out of the portal. He goes to Ohio State. Texas then gets Jack Andrews in the spring portal. Well, Andrews far and away outplayed Max Clare. So, I mean, it's one game, but Texas certainly got the better of that bargain. And I think Andrews, Arch gets more comfortable with him. I think that's going to be a reliable weapon Texas can lean on all year. I mentioned Parker Livingstone. I know you didn't ask about him, but he scores Texas' only touchdown on a contested catch. He almost had another touchdown, which, I mean, it hit his hands, but that would have been a tough catch. He had that play early on the sideline route where he made a nice catch. And, so again, things we heard all camp, right? People are like, oh, your sources suck. Like, no, dude, we heard all camp. Parker Livingstone was a player that made plays every single day. He got his first chance, and he did it on the biggest of stages. The fact that he did that against Ohio State tells me he'll have no problem doing it against other teams on the schedule.
Well, yeah, they bring in a guy like Emmett Mosley to basically compete with Parker, and there was some thought that he might be able to take that position. Never happened. Emmett Mosley is still recovering from his injury, right? And so Parker now will get a chance to maybe even distance himself. So when Emmett is fully healthy, it's just kind of a non-factor for them. And the next 3 games, Jason, everybody gets to pat their stats. Jason, I've equated this September basically like another training camp. It really, for me, is 3 scrimmages that the team gets to have before they get ready for Florida. And I look at San Jose State as a scrimmage. I know Stark will like to give them respect, which I totally understand. I view UTEP as a scrimmage. I view Sam Houston State as a scrimmage. And then there's the bye week. And then I feel like there's Florida after that. And we'll know a little bit more about that team once we get to Florida.
I don't think we'll know any. I mean, listen, next 3 weeks are kind of like feel-good games, right? After you lose your first game, those 3 games, pad your stats. You're going to have your chest out and like, oh, we just won by 30, 40 points. But we're not going to know what this team is made of until they go to Florida, and then they got Oklahoma that following week. So, but these next 3 weeks will be a good chance for Texas to kind of, get their confidence back, get their swagger back. And by the way, I know you said Sam Houston State. I keep seeing Sam Houston. Did they drop the state? Is it just Sam
I don't know. Damn it, you know more. I can tell you what I don't know. I don't know a damn thing about Sam Houston or Sam Houston State.
Well, it's always been Sam Houston State. Like I saw it as Sam Houston. So then I went to the official Texas sports website, and it's just listed as Sam Houston. So I don't know. That's the only interesting I could find about that game, on Marvin. When I was predicting game by game, I was like, okay, I was like, oh, is it now Sam Houston, not Sam Houston State? That was the most interesting thing I could find about that team. So,
I mean, I'm looking. Let me see. I'm going to their website. By the way, Vance Bedford is in the chat. I just wanted to put him there. Vance shows up during the season and then he disappears for a month. I'm looking here. It says Sam Houston Athletics. It doesn't say Sam Houston State. I wonder if they. You know who would know? Who would know that? Chris Bennett. Chris
Probably.
Bennett.
Yeah.
Chris Bennett would know. If Chris
Chris,
Bennett.
look that up for us for next week. Yeah.
Chris Bennett, when you get a chance, find out when did Sam Houston drop the state portion of it, and when did they just go to Sam Houston? But I'm trying to read something here as I'm looking through this because now you got me looking here. Yeah, and I'm looking at their article, and they just call it Sam Houston on their website. So I guess it's shoot. They're playing Sam Houston. Either way, it's a scrimmage. Hey, Jason, before we get out of here real quick, there's probably not a lot going on recruiting-wise at this moment. I'm kind of curious, do you know when some important dates are going to be recruiting-wise during the season? When's the big recruiting weekends going to be? I know that Texas has a lot of commits at this moment, and I'm just kind of curious who's still left on the board. So basically give me – what's the big weekends left, and then who are the big names that we just got to follow?
They're going to be kind of spread out. Like they'll have a few guys, or I have a few names already coming in for this weekend, and I'll compile that list. But like Grant Haviland is a 2027 tight end. Trey Moore, I wrote about him in my 321. He's a 2027 badass receiver out of Pflugerville Weiss. Had 3 touchdowns in his first game. Those dudes will be at this game this weekend. I think you're going to see a lot of the commitments come in. Kosio Paula told me he'll probably come in. Honestly, the two big, like in talking to players, Almar, the 2 games that everybody's like, I'll be at this game, in this game. It's the Texas OU game, which is in Dallas, obviously. Yeah, which is always interesting. I understand why people want to go to it, but that's not really a recruiting event per se because the coaches can interact with the recruiters.
Correct.
A lot of dudes are telling me, hey, they're going to Texas OU and the Texas A&M game. So we're talking late November. But Arkansas is going to have a bunch of guys in. You'll see some scattered guys for these next 3 games we're talking about. But I think Arkansas is going to be a big weekend. Maybe that might shape up to be the biggest one. And then Texas A&M, that Thanksgiving weekend, everybody I've talked to said they'll be at that game, including some, or at least one Texas A&M commitment that said he'll be there as a guest of Texas. And
then who are some of the big fish that are still left, that are out there, Jason?
None, honestly.
Really? Really?
In the 2026, unless you're talking about flipping guys. I mean, dude, like if you look at the top 150 guys in the country, there's only like 1 or 2 that are still uncommitted. So, I mean, Texas, we'll see. I mean, that stuff will start picking up. They're going to try to flip an offensive lineman or 2. Malachi Lee's a name. KJ Edwards, the Texas A&M running back. He's the guy that said he'll be at that Texas A&M game in Austin. So there really aren't any uncommitted guys. Now it's more about 2027s.
Wow.
Maybe some senior risers who have a really strong senior season. You say, okay, we'll take a flyer on that guy, or flipping guys from other schools. So, I mean, the flips are kind of the things we're watching for to see who kind of rises to the surface there. But offensive line looks like a position to watch. I still think receiver could be a position to watch, maybe tight end if they can identify somebody there.
All right. Pretty cool. All right. I want last thing. I'm going to get your thoughts on this. Two things. I'm going to allow you to be petty. Okay. North Carolina last night and Alabama and that fall. I just, we're positive. We're going on. We're positive, right? So at least you don't have to worry about Texas being in those kind of situations, right? So give me those 2, and we'll close on that one.
I saw it coming on North Carolina, to toot my own horn, but like I remember saying, I think it was our man Cody Carpentier was saying like, "Oh, Belichick's going to be good." I was like, "No, he's not. That dude is not cut out for college football." I remember getting in a debate on the board. I was like, Belichick is not Belichick without Tom Brady. And people are like, yes, he is. He's the greatest. Dude, that dude sucked before Tom Brady. He sucked after Tom Brady. Now it looks like he's going to suck as a college coach. I'm like, does he even make it through the year? I mean, what's in it? What's his dude?
All depends on what his woman says, right?
No, exactly. So I was shocked that they got beat up the way they did, but I'm not shocked. If this experience does not work for North Carolina, that's kind of what I'm expecting. Did I expect them to lose whatever it was, 45-14 or whatever it was? No, I didn't expect that, but I did not expect Belichick to have success. Alabama, I'm a little surprised. I'm on the other side of that. This is 2 completely different stories. I thought Kalen DeBoer was a good coach, and I still do. I mean, he's won everywhere he's been, but now I'm like, dude, like that was a disastrous performance. I mean, you got manhandled by Florida State. So I'm like, is Florida State that good all of a sudden with that new quarterback? I don't know. But man, I'm glad we're covering Texas and not Alabama right now, Omar, because that program has been so high for so long to suddenly come crashing down. And I expected them to be pretty good this year. My rankings, my preseason rankings would reflect that. I think I had them third behind Texas and Georgia. I did my rankings this week, and I put them. Let me find it. I put Alabama at number 8 in the SEC, and I was like, "Is that too high? I don't know." And people are giving me crap. I have Texas 4th, and listen, I expect that will change. I don't think Texas will be 4th for long.
Yeah.
But if I'm basing it off of what I watched last weekend and not taking into account preseason expectations, I can't put Texas higher than 4th. In fact, I can make it a case like South Carolina looked better. Hell, Oklahoma. I mean, I get it. They're playing cupcakes, but so yeah, I put Georgia, LSU, Florida, and then Texas 4th. I think that thing will self-correct over the next few weeks. But right now, yeah, I had Alabama number 8, and for the record, I had Texas number 4.
For me, the killing the board thing is it's always that cautionary tale when I see a guy who's working with a really, really excellent quarterback, and he had one with Penix, and to me, I was like, second, you got to see what that person looks like, because outside
like Bill Belichick, right?
To a certain degree, right? And then he had Fresno State before that, and the thing is, and we always know, replacing a legendary guy. You never want to be that person. You want to be the person that replaces the person who replaces the legend, right? And so walking in, it's almost like you had a great thing at Washington. It is like you got a little bit greedy and said, well, I'm going to go to Bama because that's going to be an upgrade for me. And now you're kind of stuck in that. All I needed to know about Kalen DeBoer was this, Jason. He lost to Vanderbilt last year, and he lost to Oklahoma. I'm good. I'm good. There's nothing else you need to tell me. I tried to lie to myself and say, well, maybe they'll be a little bit better this year. They're not. They're bad. And the Kalen DeBoer experience, he's going to have a pressure like none before. And Alabama will be begging to bring Lane Kiffin back to take over that program.
Yeah, that'd be a good call, actually. Does he? Let's say the wheels come off and they go like 5-7, and I don't know that that's going to happen. It's still a talented Alabama team, but does he get a 3rd year?
If Brian Williams goes in the portal, I would say no.
Well, yeah, and if Lane's interested, probably not. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to have to be some preservation there, because now if they're 7-5, Jason, 8-4. I mean, that may not be enough. That can't be enough for Bama fans. And if you're Bama, and now all of a sudden, the transfer portal comes around, and you got guys saying, man, like, I don't know who my next coach is going to be. I'll get the hell out of here and find a soft landing spot. That could be a huge domino effect that happens there. So something to keep an eye on. So, all right, Jason, get out of here. I'll see you at the podcast.
Okay, man. I will.
Good talking to you, Jason.
Yeah, you too, man. We'll see you soon.
All right, Jason, go text some moms. Jason Sukamel, orangebuzz.com. Yeah, we'll have more about that. I'll give you guys my SEC power rankings tomorrow. Good to see Vance Bedford in the chat. I'm glad to see that he's here, former Texas defensive coordinator, hanging out, chilling up there in Colorado. Vance, I'll be in Denver, by the way, Vance. November during the bye week. My son's got a tournament up there, so maybe we can get together for that. All right, y'all. That's it. I went a little bit longer, but I was having a good time, and so I just wanted to kind of keep the party going. Positivity today. Nothing but positivity. We'll resume some of the panics and the panic buttons, and we can do that another day. But I wanted today, your Tuesday, to be nothing but positivity today. So speaking of positive, go out, do something fantastic for yourself. Remember, I always say, live each day like it's your last, because one day it will be. So that means go out today, enjoy yourself, do something special for yourself. I don't give a damn if it's going to buy yourself a sub, buy yourself a candle, just do little something. Go for a walk, enjoy it. Life's too short, all right? Y'all take care. I'll be back here, I think, noon.